If you've ever wanted to dip your toes into designing for a new system, or you're an existing designer, whether that's professionally or as a hobbyist, the brilliant minds behind Daggerheart have just made it so easy. But before we get into that, introductions. Hey folks, my name is VJ Harris. My pronouns are they, them, he, him, and something funny. I am a full-time tabletop role-playing designer and professional game master. You might recognize my name from things such as MCDM Productions, Arcadia, Flea Mortals, or An Elf and Nor Cat Little Baby, volumes 1 through 4. Okay, introduction done, let's get back to it. Daggerheart and Darrington Press keep doing things I wish D&D would do. I've been designing for Dungeons & Dragons for a decade now, first as a hobbyist and then as a professional, and in that time, to my recollection, no major publishers that are designing for D&D have put out a guide like this one, at least none that I've seen. Over on the Daggerheart website, Darrington Press has shared with us the Homebrew Kit, a 26-page document that breaks down how to design Ancestries, communities, domains, classes, subclasses, adversaries, environments, equipment and loot, and campaign frames. I'm going to summarize each of these sections for you, so make sure you actually go read the document. A link can be found in the description, except for communities. Ancestries. Ancestries represent your character's lineage, which affects their physical appearance. As far as the naming conventions go, you might use a familiar sound such as rivet or clank, a play on a common or historical word that evokes that ancestry, galapa and infernus, or a variation on the name of the animal or object the ancestry is inspired by, Katari or Dracona. When it comes to the actual ancestry feature, they're broken into top and bottom. The top feature is essentially what the ancestry is. The ancestry is purposely designed, it's amphibious, it's dexterous, it's lucky or highly instinctual, it's enduring or hardy, whereas the bottom feature is generally what the ancestry does. The ancestry wears a unique tack, evades danger better, flies, navigates social situations in a unique way, manages stress better, recovers better than others, or adapts to problems quickly. But that isn't always the case. Sometimes what you would consider a bottom feature will be a top feature and vice versa for balancing purposes, since mixed ancestries take the top of one entry and the bottom of another. A final thing, ancestries are for things that are biological. You do not want to put cultural aspects in that. That's for communities. Communities represent the culture or environment your character grew up in. Though a character might have been a member of numerous communities during their upbringing, this choice represents the one they feel had the most influence over their personality and current skill set. In Daggerheart, they try to give communities evocative names rather than literal ones. For example, instead of Mountainborn, they named the community Ridgeborn, and instead of Forestborn, they used Wildborn. A community feature is typically more passive than a class feature or domain card, yet still directly impacts the way a player character interacts with the world. These features emerge from cultural practices and/or collective knowledge, representing skills and abilities rather than biological characteristics or magical powers. The most common kind of community feature grants a PC advantage on certain actions in specific situations. Other features might establish a particular way you interact with the world. Domains. Domains are the core themes of each class. The combination of two domains forms the basis for each class's abilities and spells, which you gain from your domain card. Near the end of character creation, you'll pick your first class from your chosen class's domains. Creating a new domain is one of the most ambitious tasks for a designer homebrewing content for Daggerheart. Each domain in the core book has 21 distinct cards, and domains have a huge impact on the classes they comprise, always in concert with another domain. Domains represent a player's character's mastery of a skill, weapon mastery, magic, charisma, the natural world, creation, protection, secrecy, and more. New domains should carry that same thematic weight, and you want to consider how new domains will combine with existing domains. Each domain has 21 cards per domain. Each card includes its level, a symbol indicating its domain, its name, its type, its recall cost, and its feature. There's 3 types: ability, spells, and grimoires. You need to consider the thematic through lines, combat and roleplay focuses, making it class neutral, making deliberate decisions when it comes to features shared across domains, what kind of roles you want it to use, the upward scaling of domain cards, and the power of the spells on a grimoire card. You also need to keep in mind how it synergizes with other domains. Classes. To start this off, you need to identify the 2 domains that don't already have an associated class and consider how they manifest when combined. For example, the Ranger is a cross of the Sage and Bone domains. Sage has abilities and spells that interact with the natural world, whereas Bone is about movement, evasion, and physicality. Combined, they make a character who's quick on their feet and harnesses the power of nature, which fits very well into the archetype of a Ranger. Right off the bat, you need to balance hit points and evasions. Higher of one means the other needs to be lowered. When it comes to the hope feature, make sure you're making deliberate choices if you make it cost more than 3 hope, the standard. You'll also want to make sure it thematically aligns with class concept, right? Class features are the big idea that defines the class and its place in the narrative. Since they lack the high hope cost of the hope features, they're intended to be used consistently. Subclasses. Building a subclass is about crafting the more specific ways a class might be played and creating mechanics that reinforce that playstyle. For example, in the subclasses for the Rogue in the core rulebook, the Nightwalker is built for people who want to jump in and out of shadows and stay hidden, a very common trope for rogues, versus the Syndicate, which is built for players who want to have a contact everywhere and play a more suave or socially inclined rogue. Once you have a name and visual style for your subclasses, you'll build out its 3 subclass cards: Foundation, Specialization, and Mastery. For the Foundation, determine the defining characteristics of a subclass you would like to highlight at character creation, then build 1 or 2 mechanics that capture that concept. For the Specialization, consider how you can build on the narrative or mechanical concept the Foundation introduced. For Mastery, you'll build a capstone effect that carries the subclass through the final 3 levels of the campaign. The same advice from building a Specialization applies here, but remember, the game's complexity ramps up in its final levels. Before we move to Adversaries, also remember this: balance subclass cards against other subclass cards. Make sure the wording is simplified, you only have so much space, and avoid game-breaking combinations. Adversaries. This section has a reprint of improved statistics by tier table and a guideline for how hit points affect the flow of combat. 1 HP, these guys are meant to be easily defeated and down in 1 hit. 2 HP, they are mostly staying up for 2 hits. 3 HP, a big hit could kill them, but generally they'll take a few hits. 4 to 6, these are the safest bet in a fight if you want them to last for a few more hits but not take forever to defeat. 7 to 9, these adversaries are tougher and usually they typically take longer to defeat. Use this when you want a stronger or scarier adversary. And for 10 plus, these adversaries are most difficult to defeat, and implementing them will usually make the battle last significantly longer. Okay, so one thing I will say about adversaries, while the HP bit is useful, overall I didn't find the improved statistics table useful originally, and I still don't now. I'll incorporate the HP, but I'll continue to use my adversary math spreadsheet I made and talked about in this video. Environments. The first thing to do is figure out what you want from the location. Is it a marketplace where things are being sold and thieves might lurk? Is it a dangerous ravine with terrifying creatures trying to push people into their doom? The theme of the environment will help you start creating abilities. Environments have a passive, action, and reaction ability on the card. How many of each depends on the tier. Equipment and loot. The name of the game is balance. When it comes to weapons, if you're going to give it a low damage, you'll give it a powerful feature and vice versa. Always keep in mind what trait you want a weapon to use. Armor follows the exact same framework as weapons. If it has a higher number of armor slots or damage thresholds, it needs a negative, like heavy, -1 to evasion, or very heavy, -2 to evasion, and -1 to agility. Items and consumables. So, there's a difference between the two. Items are things that can be used multiple times, while consumables have a one-time use. Items can be improved gear, traveling gear, unique clothing and accessories, magical tools, and minor artifacts. Often these items have special features or enhance armor, weapon attacks, or traits. Gems and stones are perfect to allow people to hold onto equipment they are attached to, and an easy place to start with consumable design is to take an existing feature in the game and make a consumable version. The consumable form of an ancestry feature that allows the character to fly at will might let the character fly until their next roll with fear, or rarer until they, take their next rest. Similarly, you can make a less powerful version of an item that lets a character astral project, but only letting them do so once. Okay, I said that I wasn't going to do the campaign frames, and the reason for that is the way everything is set up, I'd pretty much have to just rehash everything in the section, like actually read it word for word. So I'm just going to say, go read it yourself. It's 26 pages, a real quick read. But that's it, folks. Thanks so much for being here. See you next time, and peace out.